Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the National Urban League Digital Career Success Series. We're excited to bring back another webinar this week. Today's webinar will be about leveraging your funds, how to build your network in unlikely places. Today's webinar is sponsored by our corporate partner, HCA. HCA is one of the nation's leading providers of healthcare services. They are located around the country in over 20 states as well as in London. They have hospitals and surgery centers across the nation. HCA employs over 200,000 people and they are ranked 94th in the Fortune Top 100. They care about ethics and they were named one of the world's most ethical companies for the third year in a row. HCA cares about giving back with their over $7 billion campaign invested in capital spending over the past 5 years to expand or bring new services to the communities they serve. With over $2 billion in uncompensated care costs estimated for 2012. HCA, they care about their patients with over 20 million patients they encounter per year, and they are number 1 out of 22 emergency room visits in America. HCA is a dynamic company, and we're excited to have them as a partner today, especially for this webinar, where we are featured on our Essence Festival Career Connections. HCA will be the featured recruiter during the Essence Festival in New Orleans. They'll be found in the Career Connections section of the Empower You area in the Convention Center. We encourage you to come down and see HCA live, meet with their recruiters, take advantage of their networking opportunities, and take advantage of all the activities we'll have for professional development, networking, and development for the Career Connections area. Featured in the Career Connections, we will actually have our presenter who we have today on today's webinar, Jodi Brockington. Jodi Brockington will be live with HCA in New Orleans. Jodi is a master connector. She's an author, certified life and career coach, entrepreneur, fitness trainer, and a lifestyle coach. Jodi spearheads powerful seminars on topics such as how to use LinkedIn for networking, your way to career success. Jodi is also a featured presenter at the 2013 Black Enterprise Women of Power, subsequently being invited back to the 2014 Summit, where she taught a crash course on how to connect effectively with confidence. We're excited to have Jodi here with us today as she represents for our sponsor HCA in New Orleans at the Essence Career Connections Festival. We are going to take it away. Jodi?
Thank you, John. And thank you all for joining us today. It's kind of weird being on this side of the stage. I'm used to introducing everyone else. But I want to thank you all for joining us today for today's National Urban League Digital Career Success Series. And I'm excited to be here. I think we all sometimes put our guards down when summertime comes or when you think networking is not going to happen, but you never know who you're going to meet at a picnic, a conference, even at the Essence Fest coming up. If any of you are coming or all of you on the line might be coming to our National Urban League Conference and career fair there, and we hope to have you. But there is always time to network, and it doesn't always have to be for your career. It could just be for you personally. So many folks that I speak with, they are often telling me that the frequent complaint I hear is, I hate networking. And if any of you are on the phone right now and listening up, if that is you, please remember this number as it says on your screen. 75% of new jobs are received through networking and referrals. Entrepreneurs especially, if you're on the line, most new clients are received through networking and referrals. So networking is important. Yes, it's just as important to have the skills and the degrees and the certifications and the knowledge, but you really need to know the people. And often, while we're having fun at a conference or having fun at a concert, we're not often thinking about how this could impact our careers or our lives, but you never know who you're going to sit next to on a plane, stand next to at a concert, or sit next to on the beach. So keep that in mind. So if this is you, if there's anyone on the phone who says that they hate networking or they don't have the time for it, this is definitely the time. There is always time for it. Don't look at it as a chore. Networking is important because it gives you a sense of what makes other people happy and what makes them inspired. Networking is really not about you. It's really about the other people. And if you keep that in mind and keep it in your back pocket always, is how can you help someone, whether you are online at the grocery store or you're heading out and you're in the airport. Is there someone in the airport who might need your help? Advocacy, helping them change their seat. Maybe you can give up your seat so they can sit next to their wife, and you never know who that couple is. It could be a power couple, especially if you're sitting in business or first class, and even if not, sometimes you can give up your coach seat and end up in first class just by being nice to the stewardess. So keep those things in mind. Networking is also an opportunity to really showcase what it would be like to work with you, what your personality is like, who you are as a person. Are you friendly? Are you grouchy? Are you a go-getter? Are you a risk-taker? People can see that from your actions, whether or not you're in an office setting, in a professional organization setting, or simply at a concert. It is your opportunity also to take a chance, receive and share ideas and resources with others. I live in New York. I don't know where everyone else on the line is, but depending on where you live, there's always someone who's visiting your city who needs directions, who needs help, and you never know who they are. Once I was sitting on the subway and I ended up helping a Russian Olympian find his way to his hotel. And he was just extremely thankful, and then the next thing you know, there he was in the Olympics last year. So, I mean, granted, I didn't stay in great communication with him, but I sent him a message on Facebook and via email just saying congratulations. So you never know who you're going to meet. So keep that in mind always. So as I said before, it's really, networking is about the other person, and it's not about the asking. Those of you who say that you hate networking and it's so much work and it takes up time, it's because you're putting so much effort into it. It should be effortless. I know for some people it comes naturally, like myself, and other people do have to work at it. But if you come from a place of giving or thinking about, something you can do for someone else, so sometimes you can do something for your boss. Your boss is stressed out over a specific project. Can you add a couple of extra hours of work on that project? And while you're working on that project, you get some one-on-one time with your boss who you normally wouldn't be able to speak with. When you're out at a concert, could you, give a napkin to someone? Or when you go to get a drink, do you offer to get someone else in your row? Hey, I'm going. Does anyone else want anything? Yeah, you don't know these people, but it's worth offering and being nice. Or you see that someone is separated from their friends and you're sitting amongst their friends. Can you just switch seats? Is it that awful? Because you just don't know who they are. And you have to keep in mind, what can you give? What do you have to offer? If you want something, what is your giving? When you look at the photos that are on the screen or part of the slide, you see those red X's. It doesn't always happen in a business setting or a conference, and it's not about begging or asking for things. It's sometimes just merely giving and listening. Often other people need more than you, and you'd be surprised. And if it is in the workplace and you are speaking to someone who you are subordinate to, your boss or your manager, and even sometimes peers, often you can listen to some of the issues that they're having. They might be complaining because they've been working real late and it's their son's recital that's coming up. And by saying, look, I'll pitch in for you, I'll do the extra kind of work, could be really helpful. And you never know, the next time you need some time off or you need someone to cover a shift for you, that person will remember and hopefully take advantage of helping you out and take that opportunity the next time. So sometimes it's you taking the chance first. So networking where you least expect it. I mean, we never know where these things are going to happen. Sometimes they're planned, sometimes they're not. Often we plan to go to events, but we don't plan to always meet people there. And I feel like it's when your guard is down and everyone's just enjoying themselves, where everyone is a little bit more open to talk about themselves. They're not in their suit or in their tie or trying to balance their day. They're there to relax and enjoy. So they're more likely to talk about themselves. Instead of finding out about someone's husband or wife, they might actually be with them. Instead of looking at the picture of their kids on their office desk, that you actually get to meet the kids, and your kids get to meet theirs if you have any. Sometimes it's connecting over a common theme. Maybe you really like flowers, and there was a great flower show at Macy's, so you went to that and you met some really nice people. You never know who they are and how powerful they are, and it's not always about numbers. But as you see on this screen, these might be some events that you've attended or planning to attend, like the 20th Essence Festival that's coming up in New Orleans for the 4th of July weekend. If you're planning to go there, in most of your minds, you've decided to go because of the great concerts, you just want to have some fun. It's definitely more like vacation. But you never know. You could run into your boss there. You could run into the head of some company you might want to work for. You might even want to work at Essence one day, or for Coca-Cola, their main sponsor. So think about what's there, and then in our case, for the National Urban League, we're bringing HCA there, and they're going to be definitely looking for new talent for all of their hospitals around the country and internationally as well in London. So you never know who's going to be there, who you're going to meet, and even some of you are going there maybe to meet some of these artists and celebrities that go to attend and are performing. Might be also part of your networking goal. Maybe you want them to perform at something for you, or you've been trying to meet them forever. This is a much better opportunity for you to meet them than just going to a regular concert, because they usually stick around and hang around and do book signings and sign autographs. So take advantage of opportunities like this. So this is the Essence Festival, the Macy's Music Festival that's a part of the National Urban League Conference this year, concerts in the park, things in your neighborhood and in your community. If you guys are still in college, take advantage of all of the activities that go on in your school. You just never know what that alumni might know, what kind of deep pockets they have for some projects you might be working on, especially you entrepreneurs. You just have to pay attention and listen. Sometimes it's the quiet people in the back who really have a lot more of the power than the people who are on the panel. So if there's an artist that you want to meet who's performing at the Essence Festival, their assistant or their manager is usually in the audience, and that's the person you need to know if you actually want to meet the artist, in most cases. And I'm really big on quality, not quantity, when it comes to networking. Everyone always feels like they've won a prize because they collected the most business cards or they talked to the most people. I'd rather talk to one person who knows a million people and has millions of dollars than to millions of people who have no power and no dollars, especially if you're trying to get somewhere. Power is not always in numbers when it comes to networking, but it can be as well. So if you are planning to meet someone at a company that you love, you can't always get to the CEO or the direct hiring manager, but if you get to know a few people on their team and you ask them questions and you find out about them and build a rapport, when an opening comes up, either in your department, in that department, or in that company, and you've built a relationship, they can help you get your resume directly to HR versus just sending it to the black hole called online applications often. It's about the depth of your connection with these people. While you were waiting online for the concert, did you talk to them? Did you just stay with yourself? Were you there alone? Did you only talk amongst your friends? Did you all like a certain song? Did it bring back a memory for them? Where can you build a connection? The more depth you have and the more you get to know someone, how many kids they have, do they have a dog, do they hate cats, where do they like to travel, have you both traveled to the same place in Africa once, do they speak another language, something that's of interest that stands them alone. So please make sure that you are able to do whatever you want to make these things happen. Stronger relationships are built out of the office, even with anyone here who's already working at a company. You know, your boss is cool, but he or she can be a lot cooler when they're also not in the office sometimes. Maybe your kids and their kids go to the same school, and you don't talk to them as much in the office, but you're both part of the PTA, and you find out that your boss is working on the play and that their daughter and your son are both in the same play, that you can build a better relationship often with people you have to work with outside of the interests and connections in your office. And sometimes they're more difficult to build within an office when there's competition and people are really fighting for, you know, a place with this person or a position in their job. So keep that in mind. So how do you maximize these skills, and how do you maximize your time no matter where you are? It's not that I'm saying you have to be networking constantly and that you don't get a break and that you need to be doing it everywhere you are, but, you know, networking to me is helping. So whether or not you're in your laundry room in your building or a laundromat outside or at a PTA meeting, there's always someone who needs help, someone who has a flat tire, someone who maybe just needs a smile or a hug. So there are 7 steps that I believe make you extremely successful in leveraging your funds and to build your network in these unlikely places, because there are definitely traditional places, but when are they unlikely? Number 1 is think it through. If you have something to leverage, think through it. Like, what do you have to offer someone else? What do you have that someone else might want? Is it a skill? Is it a connection of yours? You know, are you the son of a pastor and everyone wants him to come speak this year because he won all these accolades and wrote a book? Are you, you know, friends with an artist, a celebrity, an author? Do you have a good rapport with your boss that no one else has? Do people come to you before they approach him or her? What's something that you have? Think it through. Think why you actually might need to know someone or something that you might need, but think about what do you have that person also might need. You know, you have to have an end goal. You know, are you trying to find the best babysitter in the neighborhood? Are you trying to find a dog walker? Who has those things? Where can you find those things? Are you looking for the best gym, a personal trainer, a doctor, a lawyer? You know, you're not going to just want to ask anyone for some of those things. But who can you get a referral from, and who can you refer? Your doctor would be thankful. Your boss would be thankful. Are you looking for a new job? Have you thought about where? Once you think about the kind of job that you like to have and where you'd like to work, have you written down at least the top 10 list of places that you'd love to work? You should do that. Really have a plan. And writing it down, not so much that you go and you tell someone else that you have this list, but then if you wanted to work at IBM or if you wanted to work at HCA, who do you know that works at a hospital, an HCA hospital specifically? What kind of job do you want there? Are you in the medical field, or are you in IT? Are you in marketing? You know, what's the plan? Are you an entrepreneur and you're seeking out new clients, new customers? Are you trying to find funding for your business? Who do you know who's either done it before, has access to capital? Do you know any venture capitalists? Are you going to any of the events where some of these people will be? Are you inviting them out to events that you're having where your business is being showcased? Or do you simply want to just expand your network, meet a few new people? Did you just move to a new place? Are you in a new job? And even though you're in the HR department, you should know the other people in marketing, in advertising, in HR that are maybe not in your building. How do you expand expand your network. How do you make that happen? Number 2, always be prepared. Business cards should always be in your wallet, or have your phone ready that you can quickly send out an electronic V card these days, or that you can bump your phone to theirs with your connections, with your information. When I say elevator pitch, it's not so much that it's just an elevator ride, but anywhere from a 30-second to 2-minute pitch about who you are, what your business is, depending on the audience. And if it's someone in your company, like your CEO, they don't want to hear about you. They want to hear about themselves. So you better be on your P's and Q's and know what they've been doing. Did they recently take a trip to China? Did they recently give everyone across the board a raise? Where you can say, thank you so much that, the decision you made at the last board meeting to increase our salary was great. Made my life fabulous. What are you saying? You need to know them before they'll ever be interested in you. That's the giving part. And thinking about what you might have coming up for the rest of the summer. Where are you going? Are you going to a family picnic? Are you going to a free concert in the park? Are you traveling to another country? Where are you going? Who might you run into there? Are you going to specifically run into anyone specific? Like sometimes what I'm famous for is strategic stalking. And by strategic stalking, that there's someone that you really want to meet. So, for example, if you wanted to meet Mark Morial, the president and CEO of the National Urban League, you know very well where he'll be in the end of July at the National Urban League Conference. He will also be at the Essence Festival. So those are 2 places you could potentially, quote unquote, run into him or his people that can get to him. So you have to find people, find ways, pathways to get to the people that you want to meet. But you also have to have something to say when you actually meet them. Ask and listen, which is usually these 2 things are the hardest part. Listening, definitely. Asking, not so much that it's difficult, but sometimes it's asking for the right thing. If you ask enough questions and the right, quote unquote, questions, you often can get to the needs of other people. And what happens is that if you ask the right questions and you're listening very well, you will figure out what are some pain points, some highlights, some challenges, and some things about these people that other people might not notice. So the goal here is really to get to know the person, and when you reconnect, you can talk about one of the things that was important to both of you. So if you found out that someone was traveling through Europe, but they were having a hard time getting their passport, but you knew someone or you knew how to get everything done quickly, that you send them a quick email saying, here's the connection, here's who you need to speak with, and here's a website and a company that can expedite and speed up your getting your passport. Have a great trip, and I'll speak to you when you get back from Peru. It's having a connection. It's making that happen, and it's listening to what they want, not so much about what you want. But when they come back and you're ready to follow up, I think it'll be a greater chance that they will know who you are, remember who you are, and you'll know a lot more about them. So it's about asking and listening. Building stronger relationships. This is where the quality versus the quantity comes in. It's not only about, what relationships you already have, it's how can those relationships work for you. When you're an entrepreneur, it's having clients and vendors and getting referrals for them. When you're in an employment situation, it's about being a good employee, quote unquote, that people like you, that you've networked around your entire office, not just with your department, and people think of you when it's time for the next assignment, or they think of you for the next advancement for you to succeed in your career. So keep that in mind. And reach out if you know you're going someplace for example, if I knew anyone who lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, because I know I'm going there for the National Urban League Conference, I should reach out to them now to let them know I'm coming and plan to see them and invite them to the free expo hall and Career Fair and the Small Business Matters Conference, so I can see them since I know that's where I will be. And you don't want to expand too much of your time. You just want to make sure that they know you're accessible. And remember to, find fun events to reconnect with friends and old contacts. And sometimes there's events that you can't even make it to, but it would be a great opportunity for your friends or your family or your clients and customers to attend. So if you had 3 extra concert tickets to the Essence Festival, why not invite them? You have a few friends in New Orleans. You know that they might be attending and they might not have gotten a ticket. Offer it to them. The worst they can say is yes or no, but at least they'll remember that you offered them something, and the next time they have concert tickets or they have something that could be useful to you, hopefully you'll come to mind. And put the smartphone away. I am also someone who struggles with this myself since I do a lot of social media, and often it's hard to put your phone down, but you really need to pay attention to people. Your phone will be there, your emails will be there. Really pay attention to the body language of the people that are around you, who's ever speaking, whatever's going on, so that you have some memories, that you were at a concert and you remember this lady in the 5th row in the pink dress that everyone thought was so fabulous. And you discussed that with 3 people around you who then you did exchange some business cards. So keep that in mind. There's also time and place for your smartphone, and bring it out at the right time. But don't make it your focus, because then you might miss something and people might miss you. Seek out key events. There's a lot of things that are going on in this world, and depending on where you live, especially here in New York, or if you live in a major city, New York, LA, Chicago, DC area, Florida, even Ohio, everyone has something going on, and you have to figure out what's relevant to you and your goals. You don't want to be the person who's everywhere. You want to be the person who's at the right events for you and other people. This way you're leveraging your time, your talents, and running into the people that you need to be running into, and meeting the people who can be helpful to your life and to your career. So use your time wisely. Just because an event goes from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., you don't have to be there for all 3 hours. If your goal was to meet Mr. Smith and you met Mr. Smith and 3 other people, once you've hit your main goal, you're free to go. So this is the other way, or the reason why some people think that networking is so taxing and takes so much time and is so much work, because you make it work, because you make it so long. You only have to be there for a half hour if you met Mr. Smith in the first half hour, and if you were smart, you showed up early to meet Mr. Smith's assistant, who was helping set up the event, and you got her card and her name, and now are able to set up a call or a meeting with Mr. Smith next week because you have his gatekeeper's card. So spend time wisely and seek out the things that are going to be important. We all have the same 24 hours in our day. You just have to learn how to use them for results-oriented activities. So friendly follow-up. This is the maker and breaker. We all, and I am also a culprit and have committed this. You go to an event, you get a bunch of cards, you say you're going to follow through, and you just don't. Things happen, life happens. So the sooner the better. I am big on no more than 24 to 48 hours unless you are at a conference that's for more than 3 days. I'm an avid user of Card Munch, which will be actually switching over to Evernote. But when you meet people at a conference, it's good to quickly follow up on the same day, at least with maybe your LinkedIn profile, with a little bit of information of where you met them to jog their memory, and saying that you'll follow up with them, and put that in your calendar. If you say within a week, put Mr. Smith's name in your calendar a week out and remind yourself to follow up with Mr. Smith. Set up a phone call, a meetup. Maybe you met someone in Ohio, but you actually both live in Brooklyn, that you plan to meet up at your favorite Italian restaurant that you both like, just to catch up and see how things are going. Make sure those things happen, and at least let them happen from your side. If you never meet up because you reached out and the other person didn't follow through, then you're great and you're still golden. But if you don't follow up, then you've lost the connection, and then suddenly it's 3 months later, and there's a job at that company that you want, but you've already lost your connection because you never followed up with Mr. Smith. And to reach out to him 3 months later just because now there's a job at his company that you'd like and you didn't follow through on the dinner you're supposed to have in Brooklyn, I don't know if he will be as helpful as he would have been had you followed up and also sent him an email or congratulated him on LinkedIn when he got a promotion. So it's paying attention to the people you also bring into your network. So follow-up is on multiple levels. It doesn't have to be a direct call. It doesn't have to be an actual meeting. It can be just keeping track of what that person is doing, especially if they are successful and a leader in a business area that you're interested in. So if there's a top doctor at an HCA hospital and you're trying to work at HCA and you met them at the Essence Festival, you want to continue to follow up with them if that's your career path, if that's what you want to do. But that doesn't mean you have to call them. That can just send a note. You guys talked about something, about a new surgery coming up that he was going to be doing. Ask him how it went, or her, So find out if there's a connection. Being a master connector is really a title that was given to me by actually Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League. Every time when Mark came to the National Urban League in the President and CEO role, I happened to be the founding president of the New York Urban League Young Professional Chapter, and we had to work on a couple of projects. And I would always tell people to introduce themselves, and if they didn't feel so comfortable just saying hi, that they can introduce themselves and say that, I told them that they should meet you. And so he kept saying, Jodi Brockington, the Master Connector. So I've taken on that title and made it my own because it's really about establishing stable relationships. It's ongoing. You don't need your whole network of thousands of people all the time, and they don't need you either. But you also can't get off the map, far away off their track and off their map. They need to be thinking about you. So how do you remain conscious in their world and vice versa? You have to reach out to them on a regular basis. And regular is not every day and it's not every week. It's just when something is either going on in their world and yours, that there's a connection. It's paying attention. It might be a birthday card, a holiday card, a special event that's coming up. It's thinking about them to maybe be a speaker or asking them if they'd help promote it, depending on who they are in the relationship. Or maybe it's the group of people that they work with who are the better, you're doing a youth event and you have 3 of your friends who are school teachers and they all teach junior high to high school, and that's the age range that you want to start this new coding program for. You might want to reach out to your friends and and ask them for their assistance. But you don't want to just ask them out of the blue and you haven't talked to them in 6 months. So it's just staying in touch, and hopefully they're doing the same. And if the person is powerful in a celebrity or celebritante kind of way, or a leader that's very busy and they mostly work through their assistant, then work with that assistant. That's who you really need to have the relationship with. And you will always be of peace of mind of that person. Over time, you can increase your communication. When you start building a relationship with someone, it's usually a lot less frequent in the beginning, and then you build it up a little bit more when you need something and when you can actually offer them something, and the level of comfort and trust is there. And then, there's always potential for more opportunities, whether or not you're an entrepreneur, you've done a great job as a consultant or on a contract for someone, that they'll think of you for the next contract, or they know that there's another company just like theirs who could use someone like you. Often, especially in this time, employment is up and down and jobs are here and there. There's more people working for themselves and freelancing, but you need to know people, because when you do need to make some money, or you do need a job, or you do need one more client to be able to pay your own bills, you want to be first of mind when any kind of opportunity becomes available. And that's really what networking is about. It's like you think of people when others need that kind of person. So I don't even know how to paint, let alone fix a television or do any plumbing, but I know some of the best plumbers, floor makers, and real estate agents if you're looking for an apartment or a house, but I don't have those skills. But if you need that, I can make that available to you. So it's always having access, and if you don't have an answer, or if you don't know a person like that, or what someone's looking for directly, there's usually someone in your network who has an answer. So you can say, I don't really know where the best French restaurant is in Ohio, but I'm sure I can find someone who does know. So let me get back to you. And it's the idea that even if you don't get an answer, you still let them know, I asked around, and unfortunately no one can come up to the French restaurant, but I do know 2 Italian restaurants and a Chinese restaurant in Ohio. That's great. So it's still always providing an answer and always getting back to people. That will make you a master connector. For me, my motto is networking is a lifelong journey, and that you're always connecting. Once you master the right networking techniques for yourself, because they're not the same for everyone. Some people are a lot more outgoing, some are wallflowers and a little bit more shy, or believed to be shy, and you just need to find out what works for you. Sometimes it's knowing a few people who know a lot of other people and working those few relationships to still get what you want. Other times it's, going after all the different people that you would like to bring into your network if you have the time and the chutzpah to do that, but you actually have the energy and time that you want to spend on it, which is great. However, not everyone has that. And then sometimes you're the person that everyone's trying to network with. And if that's the case, use that to your leverage and your advantage as well. But use this time, any kind of downtime. We all think of summer, kids are out of school. Even if you went to college, I went to college so many times that I feel like summer is still a summer break. But there's never really a break. So be on your P's and Q's. If you are out socially, look around who's at that event. Is your boss there? Are your colleagues there? Is there someone there who you do want to meet, or a company who's being represented? So is this the appropriate time for you to be drinking? Is this the appropriate time for you to not have, at least casual clothes on versus a suit? Should you, sometimes you don't know when this is going to happen, but always just be at your best. And, networking is truly the way for you to expand your network and your own net worth. At any given moment, you are your own brand. All we all have at the end of the day is our name and our values and who we are. So use them to your advantage and make sure that you understand how to leverage who you are, what you know, and why other people need to know those things. So I hope that everyone on this line, if you're not already an FOJ, a friend of Jodi, a friend of mine, that you will connect with me either at NIARAconsulting.com, on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. And I'm actually running a special now that if anyone's interested in power networking, a one-time session with me, it is on my site under the packages, and I look forward to connecting with you guys, and I'm looking forward to whatever questions have come my way. Dawn?
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Jodi. This was a lot of great quality content. It gave people lots of things to take into consideration when we're out and about at all of these great events this summer. You never know who you're going to run into, and you never know when. So it's great to always be prepared and think through what your goals are. That's exciting. So we do have a few questions that we'll go through now, and we'll keep your contact information on the screen for those who want to connect with you. So the first question we have is from a young woman. She says she's an entry-level employee, and she doesn't have much of a network now, and she feels that she doesn't have much to give in the give and take of networking. So how can she participate in this give and take if she wants to, let's say, network with a senior leader at her job or at a different company. When talking with senior leaders in your entry level, what are some tips that you can do to have in your pocket when networking?
Well, always know there's something that you have to give. I think often when we are younger in our career, or even just maybe change positions, or you're in a new job, for you, that you start back as a freshman, or you start back at scratch. But you do have stuff to offer. And one thing that you definitely have to offer as a new employee, or even if you were, you got a new client, is really that senior leader. You want to kind of maybe turn it into more of a mentor relationship. That often senior leaders don't get asked a lot. People don't approach them. They're too afraid to. But you, as a new person at the company, and you've heard so much about them, you want to know as much about them. Like, you almost want to Wikipedia anyone and Google them and know what they're up to. The more you know about them, the more that you actually have to offer, because people don't ask them. So if you're, for example, at a large bank like Bank of America, and you are just entry-level analyst, but you want to know the senior leaders on your team, you really want to know about them and things that they've done, and to get on any projects, or ask them if you can sit in on a couple of meetings with them that aren't closed doors. And you're there, that you just want to learn as much as possible. Even if that's not really what you want to do, sometimes we need to still have doors open for us. And often by doing that, you also might learn that that might not be what you want to do forever. And you think that this person's great, or the department that you're in is great, but you actually want to move from being an analyst directly to be doing IT because you really love social media more, and how you can help the company that way. So never think that you don't know, but leverage. It's really about the other people when you are new or younger in a company, and even younger in age, and newer to a position and role, that you want to leverage being a fresh set of eyes, and also maybe bringing some things to the table that the company has not done, and that you're willing to do. Like that, often in the beginning of your career, you should also take on some additional work that nobody else is doing, or get on projects where people are not trying, they're less popular. But if you can be successful and help that senior person look more successful because of the work that you've done, you will move up quickly. So take on some of that grunt work, not going and getting coffee and stuff like that, but actually doing some work that no one else wants to touch. Don't do it all the time, but do it on something where the brownie points will be big.
Okay, great. We also have another question. It's a cross-cultural networking question. One of the participants had a successful event where it was Latino and African American, and so thinking about these summertime activities and also unlikely places to network, what are your thoughts about cross-cultural networking at more fun events where lots of different cultures are coming together? What are some tips for cross-cultural networking?
Well, I personally think cross-cultural networking is the best way to, especially for wallflowers, to stand out, right? So if you're the only woman in an all-men's, mostly men's room, or if you are the only African-American at a Latina event, or you're the only straight person at an LGBT event, one, it shows that you're open to learn about other things and other cultures and other people, so it tells a nice story without you saying anything. It's kind of like, well, why is she here? Or why is he here? Prime example, when I worked at Bank of America, my boss was the head of the LGBT internal group for all of our employees at Merrill Lynch. And I'm a straight female, but I wanted to find out more about this population. LGBT clientele for Merrill Lynch was a large percentage of money, especially in the philanthropic areas where I was working, and getting to know that group that I would normally not have access to. When you have access to things that you normally wouldn't, it's really often great to take the risk. I mean, granted, at the same time, at some of these events, I was hit on by women, and I would explain that that's not really my thing. And, you know, sometimes it can be uncomfortable, or if you are the only woman in a room, or if you're the only Black person in the room, or the only something, but you do stand out. And I would say take an opportunity to, you know, especially if it's a professional organization or a setting where you have an opportunity to get to a mic and talk about yourself, or ask someone else on a panel a question. There was a young Asian woman who attended the Black Enterprise Women of Power conference. She attended my networking session on the first day to really be able to better navigate the conference for the rest of the time. And for her, it was invaluable because clearly if 90% of the people there are African-American women and one Asian woman stands up, I told her, go to one of those next panels and make sure you ask a question in every panel. And then everyone kind of knew who she was if you were in her group. So she was able to collect a lot more, you know, friends and network with a lot more people just by being different. So I say try it out, really network as much as possible in places where you aren't, but where the information is valuable. So if you're in communications, I would say, a great group for this is NAMIC, which is the National Association of Minorities in Communications. And it's all cross-cultural folks who are mostly in corporate, but are working in marketing and communications throughout all different communities and corporations around the country. So you get a nice cultural mix, but you still get to hear about your industry. And even though most groups seem to be closed, they are often still open to having other people that are not like them as part of their group, as long as you are like-minded and are working in the same sense towards the same goals. So I say take advantage of it as often as possible. Be the only, be the one. You know, we all need messages passed forward and to learn about each other because we're not going anywhere. And for me, this has been a major thing, being biracial and always kind of having my feet in two worlds, that I want everyone to be able to feel comfortable in their own skin, even in a group that's not yours. So I say take advantage of it, and it's often a place where you can make your mark.
That's great, Jodi. Thank you so much. I actually was really curious, how is Jodi going to answer this question? So what a great perspective to stand out in the room. That's great. We only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to see how many we can get in. But this next question is getting back to that this is networking in unlikely places. Oftentimes, people are in that fun mode. They might have a drink in their hand, and they are a senior leader with a company that you want to work at or do business with. How do you kind of leverage your goals softly? What's a soft nudge? If their energy or their feedback is kind of, I'm here to have fun, not talk business. So how do you do that in these unlikely places? What's a soft nudge to leverage your goals?
I think a soft nudge is, you know, you got to meet people where they're at that time. One example I'll give is, you know, as part of my job, I've always worked between an organization and corporation, so I go to a lot of corporate events, and one that I go to annually and love is the Black Enterprise Golf and Tennis Challenge. And it's around Labor Day weekend, but it's where people kind of have their hair down. They bring their family, everyone's jumping in and out of a pool, they're going to a spa, they're playing golf, some people are playing tennis, and there's competition, but there's workshops. So, I mean, it's just making yourself known. The nudge is kind of showing up at the things, you know, so if you know that they work for a company that is hosting one of the events, you make sure you go to that company, you know, so if they work at Walmart and that's where you're trying to go, if they work at PepsiCo, if they work at HCA and that's where you're trying to be, you know, you just kind of show up. You don't always have to talk about business, you know, say, oh, so clearly, clearly if this person is all about the party, they've been working hard. So you can this is your chance and opportunity to ask questions just about them in general. Where are they from? Like, you might not know that, you know, they work at PepsiCo, which is in New York, but they might work out of the office that's in Chicago. And you have relatives that are in Chicago. What part of Chicago? You're not even talking about business, but you're trying to build a relationship, build a rapport. The more you know about them, the better. And then they say, oh, I have 3 kids. And then you say, oh, I have 2 kids. And next thing you know more about them. And the next time you see them, because hopefully it's a couple of days. If it's only a one-day thing, you got to be a little bit more nudgy and make sure you get the business card to stay in touch because you're coming to Chicago next month and you'd like to connect with us. But if you have a few days, wait a few days and wait till you're at a dinner where things are a little bit more formal or at a part of the event that, everyone's, it seems like, oh, he probably or she probably would have a business card with them. But definitely follow up. And these days, everyone is also linked, on LinkedIn or Googleable. You can find them. So if you know that they work at PepsiCo and their name is Jim Smith, you could do a search and you can still reach out to them without ever getting a card and say, hey, it was great meeting you at this event. I hope to see you. I'm heading out to Chicago in 2 weeks. Wonder if you'll be around. Love to grab a cup of coffee. They'll either bite or not bite. They'll definitely know who you are. And so keep it light if they're trying to keep it light and bring it heavy if they're going heavy. But often you just want to be asking as many questions as possible to learn as much about them as possible and not small talk, actual valuable questions. So knowing where someone's from or where did they last travel or what book are they reading, what brings them here. I mean, they could have just been a guest of someone. They might not even work at the company. And then that person could be the best friend to the CEO of the company you're trying to work at, and you're just, getting your groove on and dancing to music at the concert. So take your time. It's not a rush thing. It's a journey. Think of it as it's not speed networking and speed dating. You're really trying to have a relationship with someone. So take your time, and the journey will be okay.
That's great, Jodi. Thank you so much. So any final words for our guests and attendees?
I just say leverage and, take every opportunity you have to build better relationships, even with the people who are already in your network. Often, you're trying to meet someone else and someone new, but you haven't really developed those who are already around you and in your corner. You haven't, even some of your family members can be a lot more helpful than you think, but we don't think about them. So take some time, I would say, I do it at the end of every day of people I've talked to and should have talked to and who I missed. But at least once a week, at the end of your week, think about who should I be reaching out to next week? Who haven't I spoken to in a minute? Over the weekend, you can use that time for some of your family members and maybe people that you're closer to. But during the week, I also try to reach out to folks no later than 4 o'clock and no earlier than 8 a.m. just because it's business and you want to catch them during the business hours. And unless you've reached a rapport where you can, reach out to someone later, then that's cool. And don't worry if they don't reach back out to you right away. They're just as busy as you are, and it took you time to get back to them. So be kind. Treat people like you want to be treated, and it will definitely come back tenfold. So I just hope to see as many of you as possible in New Orleans and also in Ohio, in Cincinnati at our National Urban League Conference. And I hope that what I've said today can just be helpful and you have as many tips as possible. We are really trying to make sure as many of you have an opportunity to go after your next job. Please upload your resume, as you see on the screen, to the Jobs Network and follow us on @UL for Urban League Jobs Network. We are pushing out a lot of job opportunities, some blogs, a lot of really great information, and all the recaps of all of the Digital Career Success Series that we have put on for this year, for this season, and we can even add some of the others, but valuable information for you to use for your career and your personal success.
Great. Thank you so much, Jodi. We want to thank everyone who joined us today. This webinar has been recorded, and we will email the link to you within the next few days. If you have any questions, you can contact the National Urban League via email at jobsnetwork@nul.org. And again, follow us online, as Jodi mentioned, and have a great day. Thank you so much for joining.